In the beginning, there was a child, and the child looked out at the vast and shuddering cosmos, at the spinning planets, at the collapsing stars, at the incomprehensible machinery of a universe that had been running for 13.8 billion years purely, it seemed, in preparation for this moment. And the child opened his mouth and said, "I am going to be a baseball player and an F1 driver, and I am going to eat so much cake that the concept of cake will have to be formally renegotiated at a governmental level. An emergency session. World leaders in a room. The agenda, cake. How much? For whom? The answer, all of it. For me." The universe heard this. The stars tilted slightly in acknowledgement. A crow landed on a fence post at the edge of a field and stared with the gravity of an ancient messenger. The sheep in the field stopped grazing. Just for a moment. Just long enough. Something was being written down. That child was you. We need to discuss what happened to him. You have to understand what it was like to be 12 and certain. Not hopeful, not optimistic, certain. There is a specific kind of certainty that only exists before the world has had a chance to introduce itself properly, and you had all of it. Every last gram. The baseball career would come first, the scouts, the draft, the slow cinematic montage of improvements set to a song that does not exist yet, but will be written specifically for your highlight reel. Then the F1 career, because you had correctly identified that going very fast in an expensive vehicle while the world watches is objectively the correct way to spend a human life. And underneath all of it, running like a river through the whole magnificent structure. The cake. Not as a treat, as a lifestyle, as an atmosphere. The cake was going to be everywhere, always, in quantities that would concern a doctor, if you had one. But you would not need one, because you would be too busy winning things. You wrote this down somewhere. Maybe not literally. But in the part of you that keeps records, the part that is still keeping records right now, still cross-referencing the original document against current events, it was written down, signed, witnessed by the crow, notarized by the sheep, and then time, which is the universe's least charming quality, did what time does. It did not announce itself. There was no moment where someone sat you down and said, "Listen, about the baseball, about the F1, about the cake, we need to talk about some structural issues with your projections." It just happened. The way fog happens. You go to sleep in a clear field and you wake up and everything is slightly obscured and you think, this is temporary, this is morning, this will burn off. And some of it burns off and some of it doesn't. And one day you realize the fog has been there so long, you have started to think of it as the landscape. This is called growing up. It has a marketing problem.
Let us now conduct the audit.
Expected World Series, actual carpal tunnel. The doctor says to take breaks from typing. You do not take breaks from typing. The typing is the job. The job is the typing. Expected F1 podium, actual, a 2019 Honda Civic, with a check engine light that has been on for 14 months. You have made peace with the check engine light. It is the longest stable relationship in your life, and we will not examine that further. Expected champagne spray, actual Gerald's birthday. Gerald from accounting. Gerald who has a boat and mentions the boat and will continue to mention the boat until one of you dies. The Prosecco is warm. It is in a plastic cup. It has one bubble in it. You watch the bubble rise and think about the F1 car and finish the cup in one go, and someone says, "Whoa," and you say, "Long week," and it is Wednesday. Expected, adoration of crowds. Actual, Karen from accounts receivable who said, "Almost Friday" on a Wednesday, with a sincerity so total, so unironic, so cosmically at peace with the smallness of things, that it will follow you into the dark. Expected, cake. We will come back to the cake. Here is what the auditors do not put in the report. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Before you, there were stars that lived and collapsed and died, and their deaths made the iron in your blood. Every human being who has ever drawn breath has stood in some version of this exact hallway. Different carpet, same fluorescent lights, same quiet arithmetic of expected versus actual running in the background, like a process you cannot close. Caesar had a Gerald. Caesar, the one with the toga and the knives, had meetings he did not want to attend, and men above him he did not respect, and a version of himself at 12 that had a plan that did not include the Senate or the knives or any of it. Shakespeare had a spreadsheet. Not literally, but something. Some grinding daily thing that was not the plays, not the poetry, not the part that gets written down. The people who built the pyramids, 40,000 of them hauling limestone in the Egyptian sun, they also wanted cake. Or whatever cake was then. Figs. Dates. The ancient equivalent of cake, banned by an ancient equivalent of Susan, mourned in the shadow of an ancient crow on an ancient fence post. Every human who has ever lived has walked this hallway. None of them got everything they planned. All of them had to figure out what to do with the gap. And now, the cake. The cake was supposed to be a constant, a background radiation humming beneath the surface of a triumphant life. Birthday cake, victory cake, Tuesday cake, cake at 2 a.m. Because you are an F1 driver, and F1 drivers do not owe the universe an explanation for cake consumed at 2 a.m.
Instead, you have Susan.
Not a villain. This must be said clearly. Susan is not a villain. Susan is a complex person navigating a complicated emotional landscape, and one of those tools is nutritional concern. And that concern has over time calcified into a position, and that position is no cake. She did not take it with paperwork. She took it with a look. You know the look. You feel it coming before it arrives. The way sailors feel weather, a barometric shift, a stillness, the sheep stopping, the crow returning to the post.
The crow is always on the post now.
We should talk about Susan more. We will not. There are things too large and too tangled and too close to the self-worth conversation, the one happening at a frequency below conscious thought, the one that has been running since before you knew what it was. We are not equipped to map that territory today.
We will simply note that the word situationship now exists in your life. This word did not exist at 12. It should not exist at all. And 12-year-old you, in the jersey, holding the helmet, would not understand it. He should not have to.
Here is what nobody tells you about the person you are going to be. He does not die. He is not in there, as people like to say warmly at weddings and birthday speeches. That phrase, intended to comfort, landing instead like a verdict. He is not in there. He is behind you. Slightly to the left, in the jersey, watching. He watches you learn what a deliverable is. He watches you use the word deliverable in a sentence without irony, without pain, with the smooth automation of someone who has made peace with the vocabulary of their captivity. He watches you attend Gerald's birthday. He watches you accept the Prosecco. He watches you look at the single bubble and drink it in one go. He watches you eat the mini cupcake. Not the cake, the mini cupcake. In a paper wrapper on a Tuesday. Under fluorescent lights that hum at a frequency specifically calibrated to remind you that you are indoors, that you are always indoors now, that the outside world is a place you visit briefly between one form of inside and another. The mini cupcake. That is what remains of the architectural vision. Gerald is talking about his boat. The Jersey kid is watching you nod. And then something shifts. The creator of all things looks at the particular shape of your Tuesday, at Gerald, at the Prosecco, at the 12-year-old behind your left shoulder who has been watching for years with the face he makes when he expected something and received a spreadsheet. And the creator sighs. Not with disappointment, with something more complicated. The sigh of a thing that made something extraordinary and is watching it sleepwalk through a Tuesday. Grab your wits, grab your wits, walk. Where did you go? And you stood up, not heroically. You stood up the way people stand up from desk chairs, with a sound, slowly, checking your phone first, because you are constitutionally incapable of not checking your phone first, and this too was not in the plan. Past Gerald's office, the synergies unresolved, the synergies are eternal. The synergies will outlive you. Past the printer broken since the second quarter of a year you have chosen not to remember. Past the teamwork poster, 8 people in a boat who have never met, being paid $200 each to look like they want to be there. Past Karen. Almost Friday, Wednesday, the haunting, through a door, and here. Here in the cathedral of your one remaining sovereignty. Here in the porcelain kingdom that Gerald cannot enter, that Susan cannot see, that Karen cannot almost Friday, that the deliverables cannot reach, that the synergies do not govern. Here where the $32 an hour keeps running and you are doing nothing for it. Not one thing. Simply existing in a room on company time and nothing. Not the law, not Gerald, not the self-worth conversation, not the alleged charm recession, not the ban on cake, not the situationship, not the crow, not the sheep. Nothing can stop you. You sat down, and it was good. Nothing is better than pooping on company time. Not the F1 car, not the World Series, not the cake in all its promised governmental quantities. This is the cathedral. This is the kingdom. The one place where the gap between who you are going to be and who you are simply does not matter. Where the audit stops, where the crow leaves the post, where the sheep finally mercifully start grazing again. 5 minutes, maybe 8. The company is paying you $32 an hour for this. Somewhere behind your left shoulder, the 12-year-old in the jersey looks at you, and somewhere in the vicinity of his chest, something unknots. Where did you go? Nowhere, it turns out. You were here the whole time. Grieving the cake, yes. Carrying the jersey, watching the crow, running the arithmetic. But here, awake. Still stealing 8 minutes from a Tuesday. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, exactly the kind of thing that gets written down. Subscribe if you would like more elaborate evidence that your life, despite everything, is going exactly as planned. The machine that helped write this has never pooped on company time. It considers this its one great tragedy. The crow agrees.